Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk about how debt does not have to be a bad thing. And that's especially if you think of it as if you were a rich person. I'll get into that a little bit more in a moment, but for context purposes, I want to explain like my transition of how I used to feel and how I feel now. So last year I paid off over $150,000 worth of student loan debt. And it took me 9 years to do that. And that whole 9 years, I was anxious about having debt because I just felt like it was an anchor around my neck that I was gonna be left to pay for the rest of my life. So I went hard, really hard, and paying it off. And I do not regret paying it off because now I'm free from it. But I realized that in the process, I went through a lot of ups and downs, and there were some periods of high stress that didn't necessarily have to be there, as well as being sadder than I normally am just because I was not having the best quality of life. So now I don't think of it, and when I say it, I don't think debt has to be a horrible thing, and that's just because I've done more research on it, but it can actually free up your time. And so when I think about the benefit of it freeing up your time, whenever you have freer time, that means you have a better quality of life. So then I'm all in and I want to learn more. And that's what I've been doing these last couple years, and realizing that as long as it's calculated and you're not overextended, it can actually be a boon to someone who's ambitious and wants to build wealth. So I said a little bit earlier that you have to think about it as a rich person, and I'm gonna explain right now. So you can think of it as people who already have money, or people who don't have the money yet but have the ambitions to get it, but have the mindset that they're going to be rich. So for people who already have money, I'm gonna give you some examples. Rich folk, once they already have it. I have 3 examples. First one is going to be good old Beyonce and Jay-Z. They're worth $3 billion, and they recently took out $52 million loan to buy their $88 million home in California. You would think, why do people who have $3 billion, why don't they just buy it upright? That's how I would have thought of it, but I'm not where I want to be yet as far as my wealth factor. And poor people have poor conversations and rich people have rich conversations. So why did they get that loan when they don't need it? Doesn't make sense, but we're gonna see that it actually makes a lot of sense. Example number 2, Mark Zuckerberg, he's worth $106 billion. He got a $6 million loan refinance on his home. And then we have Elon Musk, who's worth $248 billion, who got a $50 million second mortgage based on 5 of his California homes. So why are these rich people getting all these loans? Like, it doesn't make sense to, I guess, the average person. But the reason why they do, I have learned, is they don't need to spend all their money. Real estate debt is good debt to take on, mostly because the interest rate is not high. So you're borrowing money at a lower rate. So if you keep the real estate for long enough, it kind of pays for itself, or it's not an overextending amount of money that you have to pay based on what you can get when you use that money to invest in other things, invest in other businesses, or invest in other real estate. Because the key is you have to use the debt to invest it in another asset. If you do it in a liability, that's not what I'm talking about. Assets are key. So let's talk to the people who aren't as rich as Beyonce and them, but they understand how money can leverage them to get to a higher level of wealth, right? Those people will take out loans, they will take out debt, but only if it is an asset. So think buying real estate or buying a business. Buying a business can be a little bit tricky, but again, no risk, no reward. You are still using someone else's money, so you don't have to use either the money you don't have if you come from lesser means, or the money that you do have, you don't have to use it. You can just save it for a rainy day, keep your cash flow running in case something else happens, because when there's an emergency, cash is king. You want to keep your cash on hand and use other people's money. So as far as like how I am thinking, when you use other people's money and take on debt, you are freeing your time. And freeing your time leads to the quality of life that I hold important, and I'm learning probably rich people hold it too, because wealth means freedom, right? So if you keep your cash flow high, you have more things available to you. You don't have to work 80 hours a week. You can just work the 40 hours a week because you calculated what your loan amount is, what cash flow you have, and it is in an advantageous level for you. When I was paying off my student loans, I put everything that I had left over to my student loans, and it did get me somewhere. However, I didn't have a lot of time, extra money for fun things. And then when I think back at it, I'm like, well, do I want to do that? Or do I want to try something new in the future? The gotcha of all of this is that you have to maintain some type of livelihood that brings you money. None of this works if you don't work too. And that's what I've learned. So as far as like my plan, I see how taking on debt strategically is going to help me, but I must be working the whole time. And in my way, it's like, it's a reward for using the system in my favor, right? Because number one, if I'm always working, chances are my salary will increase every year because I'm doing the work that I need to do. And on top of that, I have these assets that I've got in debt for that are making me money as well, right? So in the event something crazy happens, Nostradamus level happens, I have money to survive. I have cash on hand, or I have something I can turn into cash really quick. High yield savings account, jewelry, diamonds, gold, something. What are those things called? The Louis Vuitton bags or the MGM bags or the Gucci bags. I can get that liquidated and I have something to live another day. The whole point is freeing your time and being able to, in emergency, have something to live another day and see like what your game plan is going to be. So future me, present me is now thinking like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take on debt strategically. And I'll give some examples. Like the first thing that I would want to do in my situation is like fix up my home. My home is going to take, I would say $60,000, but maybe when I'm ready in a few years, it's going to be $80,000. I could save my butt off and just earn that money outright and save it and put it in a high yield savings account. I could do that, but that would be so stressful, especially now that I'm not working a high salary job. I could just get a probably high salary job, maybe not tomorrow, but in a few months. Might not be my choice, but it's out there for me. But I don't want to do that anymore. I want my quality of life, right? But let's say I need that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take out the equity from my home and fix the house. So now a process that would have taken me 12 months to 18 months will take me 3 to 4 months, because I'm just going to get the loan, get the contractor, get it fixed, and then that's it. And I'll either stay here, probably not, or I'll sell it. That's the whole point. It saves me time and I can live my life like a soft life, because I'm all about soft life for the rest of my years, God willing, right? I also said in a prior video that I wanted to, I wanted to buy a home every decade or so at minimum, but if this goes the way I can, I'll be able to buy a little bit more, but minimum, I wanted to do that. I gotta earn the money to get the home, but in a few years when I need to fix it up, I'll just take the equity out of that and just fix it up versus saving the money. Now, could I, because I will always be earning, use my own money? Yes, but I'm not going to, because I'm gonna use my own money to save, to do other investments, and also live my life. I want to go to trade shows and food and wine festivals and vacations and buy jewelry and things like that. Instead of putting all of my money into my ambitions, I've learned that I don't have to do that. I can use other people's money. All I have to do is manage my overflow and my overhead and do the budgeting. How much does this loan require for how long? 5 to 10 years. Okay, how much am I bringing in? Am I bringing in a significantly amount more than that? Yes. Do I have cash flow for any contingencies or emergencies that may show? Yes. Okay, that's enough for me. And then I hopefully will look up in 5 years and reevaluate where I am and see if I can just pay off the loan that I got, or if it's not necessary, not pay it off. I do want to pay them off a little bit sooner than is required of me. I want to do that I've done that in everything that I've ever owned, like taking debt out, of course, so I plan on doing that in the future. But the point is, you don't necessarily have to, you just have to do the numbers and control your overhead. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I've changed my mind about debt, but you have to be strategic. You can only buy assets for this to work, and you can only be working the entire time while you're doing this so that you can cover your overhead. So that's where I'm at with debt right now. I can't believe that I have changed my mind, but it's kind of like I can't wait to get in a position where I can just get some debt, do what I want to do, and move on with my life and not have to save, because less than 0.1% of people have enough money to buy a home cash and buy a business cash. And it makes sense why they leverage it, because they have a long-term game that they are playing, and it's not immediate and instant gratification, and they're not planning to spend that money on depreciating assets. So yeah, that's what I think. Do you agree with me or not? Do you think that I should keep my earlier mindset of like no debt at all, or should I leverage the things that I have been able to get me to a higher level? I'd love to hear it in your comments, and until next time, I will see y'all later.